the book of Tanya is written as answers to questions. So at the beginning of Tanya, as we'll see in the Hakdama, in the intro, the Baal Tanya says, this book is going to be Kol HaTshuvois al Kol HaShailis. All the answers to all the questions. So the first thing you want to know is you want to establish your question. What do you want to know? And here's why. There's something called Yechidus. Let me explain what Yechidus is. It means a private audience with the Rebbe. The Rebbe who's writing this Sefer is the Baal Tanya. And what the Baal Tanya did was, he used to have Hasidim come into him, and they would have a private audience, and it was a very powerful, intense experience. What was so powerful about it is that when you walked in, you know, you go to therapy and you're sitting over there and you're really beating around the bush and no one's talking the truth. You could be doing therapy for like a whole year, for 5 years, for 20 years, and you've never expressed the truth of what's really going on. One of the reasons is because you don't even know what the truth is yourself. Another one is because you don't want the therapist to know, and you're trying to get something there, so you're not really being honest. Yechidus means that you have a relationship with the Rebbe, and you're walking in and you're being completely transparent, fully genuine. It takes a lot of preparation to walk into that zone. Yechidus could be only a minute sometimes. But when you walk into that zone, what you want to do is express, what do I really and truly want? What's my soul? It's total emes. I'm standing in front of a person who's a tzaddik. This tzaddik has zero sense of self. There's no ego involved, so there's no me and him. I need to let go of my ego, and then after I let go of my ego, I can allow the energy to penetrate me. There was a chassid by the name of Moshe Vilenker, and he explained that he did 10 years of avodah. He said, it took me 3 years of work to prepare for the Yechidus. To get ready for that moment of the audience took me 3 years. And afterwards, it took me another 7 years to implement and actualize that which I learned. When the Alter Rebbe wrote Sefer Tanya, what he says is, this book is a Yechidus. We're going into a private audience with the Rebbe. And he actually explains why, in a sense, it's better than a private audience. So what he's saying is, I took this intense experience, which I did with all my Hasidim, with tens of thousands of Hasidim. Every one of them who walked into Yechidus, I got to appreciate his soul. I did the work, he did the work. Together we discovered the true being. And then I wrote that down, that Sefer Tanya. And in a sense, what he explained was that I saw all the neshamas that are going to come until Mashiach comes. And every one of them, when you walk into Yechidus, this is your Yechidus, this is your private moment. That's why Sefer Tanya is so popular and so widely disseminated everywhere. It's because he succeeded in talking to your neshama. It's a direct conversation with the Baal Tanya. And you'll discover that it boggles your mind how, like, wow, that is exactly what I'm feeling. So we're having a discussion and everyone wants to basically feel connected. I want to just feel it. I want to feel it. So I'm going to ask anyone if you want to say, what is, if you were walking into Yechidus now, what would you say? Now, you didn't prepare for 3 years to walk into Yechidus. On the other hand, when you're walking into the zone, what you want to do is be crystal clear on what it is that I'm out to get, what I'm out to learn, and how do I internalize that message. Once I get what I want to learn, now I'm open to receive. So if you were to say you're walking into Yechidus, what would you say? As an actual question. It's, by the way, it's fine if you don't yet know what you truly want. And as you go through life, you discover, as you go through learning, maybe we get more in touch with what we want and more connected. Yeah?
I don't want the outer trappings to win. Like, I want to be true, a direct connection, but like as soon as the outside ends up winning so many times.
The outside ends
The
up
outside
winning.
world, people,
Meaning
others,
you
what
get-
they say,
What you're saying
their
is,
impression of you.
so you get influenced
So it
constantly
ends up
by outside
crumbling
forces.
my reel because I have to sort of answer to them. I don't have to, but that's what ends up happening.
Right. Now, can you give an example of what that means, being influenced by the outside world? It means that things out there dictate how you feel? Is that the idea?
Sometimes, yeah.
Right. And what
So
you
let's
want...
say I'm good, I got a grip on my matzev, I'll make shalom with it. Thank you Hashem, I'm becoming a better person because of it. And then it takes like one person with one snide remark and the rug gets pulled and you just fall and you're like back to square one. And the whole cycle has to start all over again. You have to build
Right.
yourself.
So in a
get out
nutshell,
there
what
again.
you want to
That's
learn
very
is,
exhausting.
how do I get in touch with my true inner self,
Right.
so that
I'm
my
strong
my
enough
true
to
being...
withstand.
Right, and hopefully
The
that
outside wins.
and hopefully the true inner self is a holy, godly space to be in,
Right.
and then that's the one that controls me. That will be quite a powerful place to be in. Okay, great.
I think I have a question that I want to answer. I'm very
Just
much
raise
in
the volume.
beginning- I'm sorry, I'm just very much in the beginning of learning about the site of Torah. I feel like that's what a lot of it is. And one of the things I've learned is that the neshama, we discussed this when you gave that share even, was that the neshama can't be touched, and it's always, right, there's a place in the neshama that can't ever be touched, and it's valuable, and it's all that. I want to understand how it's possible for a yid to, so we say the respectability of a person is unlimited, and is every person, no matter what they're doing, has unlimited potential and unlimited value, and I want to understand how a yid could, that supposedly Talmud Chacham could
Compromise.
could hurt. There was so much pain.
Right. So basically, what you're saying is there's been an experience of pain from someone who represents Judaism, and has caused a tremendous.
I want to understand how a neshama, if it's so helig and so limitless, and it's a piece of the Eibster,
How does
could
one
it
neshama
do something?
violate
We're not
another?
talking about a guy. We're not talking about if every neshama has that. That's the piece I can't get my brain around. I can't.
Right. Okay. Deep question. So you want to know, basically, how does a soul, which is completely divine and holy, ever get to experience such a fall?
And all the repercussions, and
Right.
and
It's powerful. Now, of course, these questions are going to be answered in Tanya. The answer to your question, which we'll learn as we go along, is that you have a neshama, and you also have other components to you. There's two distinct beings vying over control of who you are. And they're fighting, they're at war. And they're called the Nefesh Elikis and the Nefesh Abamis. And it's two souls. And the one is absolutely godly, divine, and holy, and the other one is just a lowlife. And they're literally contending over, fighting over you.
and it still doesn't get touched when the person acts with the nefesh hamias, and this keeps it doesn't touch that.
Correct. What we're going to see is, it's very powerful actually, what we're going to see is that the Nefesh Elikis remains intact no matter what you do. So you could be a big balaveira, chas v'sham. We could do things that are very, very, very negative. And the Nefesh Abamis can really take over us completely.
So really, a person should be able to get to the place where they are able to see this person
That did this
destroyed
terrible
lives,
act, right?
that destroyed lives and hurt
Still see the
people.
godliness in them.
And that would be the
Right. The Balatanya once remarked when he said, he read the pasuk and he couldn't read the pasuk. He's like, it says, "V'nefesh ki sechta." When a soul messes up. How do you say that? V'nefesh ki sechta? Like he couldn't read it. Nefesh is a nefesh elikis, a godly soul. How does a godly soul mess up? Is it possible to sin? And that was the big question. The answer is, it's not possible. It's not the nefesh elikis that does it, it's another part of you that does it. And that doesn't take away the pain and the hurt. It's extreme pain. But beneath that pain is a godly divine force. And our mission is, before we can discover it by someone else, to discover it by ourselves. And by the people we love and the people we connect to. And to discover how there's two people inside you. And they're literally at war. And when you are cognizant and aware of that war, you're empowered to reveal the godly soul. And then the question is going to be, what are you going to do with this information? Because now what? Now that person's good? No, that person is now in severe exile. That's what it means. It means the Rahmanas on them is beyond Rahmanas. What you'll discover is that the way to get people to do Teshuvah is by focusing on their neshamas. When you can do that, because your neshama is on fire, so your neshama finds their neshama, that bond is where Teshuvah happens. But okay, anyone else?
Where does the fear come in?
Where
If
does
someone hurt someone else, so they're doing it, obviously Hashem wanted them to do it, but this person still has the same matter that they're going to hurt the other person?
great question? So he's saying, how do you have, if you have free choice?
Like, what is real bechira?
Right.
That at the end of the day, Hashem made that this person's going to hurt this person, so.
Okay.
where's that bechira?
We're going to deal with that. I don't think I can answer that question right now. That's the Rambam and the Raiva say, the argument there. So it's beyond, they open up a can of worms, basically. It's a massive question. The answer is God makes everything happen, and so do you. And that's why he's Hashem. He could do things we can't even dream of and begin to understand. Whatever happens to you happens because Hashem wants it to happen. And that is it's actually dealt with extensively in one place in Tanya, in the fourth chelik of Tanya, called the Geras HaKodesh, where Shimi ben Gera goes out and curses David the Melech. And when he curses him, David's man Avishai says, "Can I just take off his head right now? Like, you're his majesty. What's he doing?" And David says, "You can't do that. Ki Hashem Amar Lekalo." Hashem told him to curse me. Hashem never spoke to Shimi to curse David. But David realizes, whatever happens to me, happens from Hashem. Only. Nobody else can influence me.
That hurts so much more.
It's also so much more power, so it empowers you so much more to escape the pain. The goal over here is, how do you get out of the pain?
So the question I have since I'm a kid, which I was told very clearly, very early on, there are no answers to that. How could Hashem let bad things happen to good people? I know it's David the Melech's question. I know it's Moshe's question. I know.
I'm going to make your question
Right.
even stronger, because the Eibishter can do anything. So the Eibishter can make us grow from a place of love. Why does it have to be from a place of pain?
So I'm gonna answer your question as a basic. I'm going to answer the question in a basic way, because it's a good time to begin Tanya, because tomorrow night is Yutas Kislev, and Yutas Kislev is the day that Baal Tanya was released from prison, and he was in prison for 53 days because there's 53 chapters in Tanya, in the first part of Tanya, and there was a kitruk, there was a Shemaim, there was a disagreement about his ability to do so. But it's fascinating that Yutas Kislev falls out, was the Parsha of the week's connected, falls out in Parshas Vayeshev. Because Vayeshev is not about freedom, it's about the opposite of freedom. Vayeshev is the whole Parsha where Yosef is taken captive. And the Parsha ends with him being stuck in captivity in a dungeon for another 2 years. End the Parsha. Next week is where we begin the redemption. But Yutas Kislev falls out in Vayeshev. What's fascinating is that Yosef was taken out to prison. He was abused, severe abuse, right? And the people who abused him they're not Esav, they're Shivtei Kah. These are the Shvatim, right? The Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, those guys, those ones, they were the abusers. And they locked him up and they put him away. And Yosef fell down into a dark space. And then he went into a dungeon, and things were really, really terrible. But look what happened as an example when Jews in Alta Shtetl, in Alta Haim, right, many Jews before the war were forced to go to America for whatever reason. There were many reasons why anti-Semitism, v'chulu, that forced Jews from Europe to go to America. When a Jew, a child had to be sent to America, what did that mean? It was a farewell, and it was a sorry state, because to go to America meant that you lost your connection to Yiddishkeit, really. It looked like how are you going to do this? And to go to America was to fall into a dungeon like into Mitzrayim. That's what it meant. And the tears were terrible. You never see each other again. Right? What ended up happening? Those Jews who came to America, and it was hard, it was very hard. But today, when you say, oh, really? There's Judaism in America, in Europe? Oh, really? Like there's Jews in Kremenchuk, in Minsk? Wow, so amazing. But New York, oh, New York, what do you mean? Of course, Miami, Yiddish Stadt, you have these Yiddish Stadtlach. Today it's the other way around. And what happened was, the Jews in America ended up being the saving grace of the Jews in Europe. Because if not for those Jews who went to America, lechatchila, those, miskenim, those nabach, messed up Jews who had to go to America, if not for them, Judaism would have been chas v'shalom. We hate to think. Right? So what happened was, Yosef went down to Mitzrayim. And when he came down to Mitzrayim, that agony and that horror. So because he didn't want to be there, he was a slave and he was abused and he was forced down, he yearned for being back at home. That's why when he had a child, he calls his first child Menashe. Nashani Elikim es kol amoli be'es kol beis Avi. I forgot everything, and it was bothering him to no end. It's not fair that I'm here, right? And he wanted to be back home. Because of that, that's why when his brothers and his father came back to him, came down, Yaakov looks at he's like, wow, this guy's already essentially built the whole infrastructure here. And he saw Yosef lived in his mansion, $1 million home, and he had everything that he had. And when he came down, what did he see? That this Yosef said Shema when they met. Well, Yaakov said Shema. Yosef was thinking about the Beis HaMikdash. He was crying for the Churban Beis HaMikdash. And he says, wow, this is fascinating. So here you see this destruction, this terrible, terrible destruction. What Yosef got from the destruction was, I'm not being destroyed. I'm being built. Hashem sent me down. But he couldn't just send me down because I wouldn't go down. Why would I go on vacation to Mitzrayim? Like what? To go? I don't want to do that. So he forced me down to Mitzrayim, forced me into the darkest space. What I discovered was God. I discovered bitachon. That's this week's parasha, right? Discovered true bitachon. To the point that you don't rely on anything and anyone. And he had to sit 2 more years in prison with the Sarah Mashkin because he didn't get the full bitachon. When Hashem does crazy things to us, there is a goal, there is a purpose, and he's building us and not destroying us. But you have to be a Yosef to chap that this wasn't destructive. This was building you. And so the Yitzchak Kista story was that the same thing. When the Alter Rebbe was taken into prison and he fell down and he was mamish, his whole being was destroyed. What actually was going on was a rebuilding. It was enabling all people in all dark spaces to discover Hashem in our lives. And so here's the true story. The true story of your life is that wherever you are now and whatever's going on with all the horror and violation of inner being, the whole thing is Hashem guiding you to a beautiful space. Hashem is leading you into a beautiful, beautiful spot. And when we discover our neshamas, we don't get answers as to why the whole thing had to happen. That we don't get. We don't get answers to why bad things happen to good people. No clue. We get what good people need to do when bad things happen. They discover their neshamas, and they discover that there's no way they would have discovered their neshamas otherwise. And with that, we've had, I think, a few good openings over here. Let's jump in. Should we start learning? So what you want to do is go to the beginning. Now you got to find the beginning, each one in their book over there. The beginning is basically you're going to get to this page. Over there. In that book, it's going to be, in the English one, it's going to be like before the beginning. It's, let me see if I can read this. It's called, so this is the beginning. It's called, this is where the Alter Rebbe opens up what is Tanya about. Now, he explains to you what is this, and he says, Sefer Likutei Amorim. Here you have this part. I'm going to read just the actual Tanya part, right? Sefer Likutei Amorim. Chelik Rishon. You got it? What page are you on? In the English one, what page? No page.
Page 1.
Page 1.
Next is page 2 work.
Oh, okay.
After lessons
There
of
we go.
one.
Where?
Sefer Likutei Amorim. This is the book of a compilation of sayings. Chelik Rishon, the first portion, Anikar B'Shem Sefer Shel Beinanim, the book of Beinanim. Now, I'm going to explain already over here what the Baal HaTanya is going to go through at extensive length. And that is to explain to us that Tanya is a book meant for Beinanim, for ordinary people. We like to think of ourselves, hopefully, as tzaddikim. We want to be tzaddikim, right? To be a tzaddik is a virtue. Would you say, oh, that guy, he passed away, you say zatzal. Imagine you would say zabal. Zecher Beinani Livracha. Doesn't sound good. Zecher Tzaddik Livracha sounds important. It's tzaddik. But actually, let's understand what it means to be a tzaddik. Because does a tzaddik do Averis before you learn Tanya? You think a tzaddik does Averis? Of course. How many Averis can a tzaddik do to still be called a tzaddik? Isn't it true that we say 51%? As long as you have 51% mitzvahs, you're a tzaddik. A Beinani is called 50-50. A Beinani is half mitzvahs, half averos. A Rasha is when he tips the scale and does 51% bad. And a tzaddik is when it's 51% good. Isn't that what we usually say? A tzaddik can do bad things. It's just most of the time he does good things. Nachon or no? Right? That's generally the way we hold of it. So that means, let's say someone is married. And in marriage, the biggest affair in marriage is chas v'shalom, infidelity. So if a guy says, I'm married, but, 51% of the time, I'm good. Sometimes I do an avera. Is there marriage there? How much do you have to score in marriage to be married? 100% or you failed, right? There's no 1% of, How about the Gabbai Tzedakah? He's in charge of giving tzedakah. He raises money for tzedakah. He's raising $10 million a year. And he's honest, fully honest, 99.9% of the time. 0.1% of the time, once a year for 1 minute, he steals $100,000. So what is he?
A thief.
A ganav. Why is he a ganav? I don't understand. He only did one aveira. Why is he a ganav? You're a ganav because you stole, because you're a ganav. Why is it when it comes to Judaism, you could be a tzaddik if you do aveiras? No, you're not. If you do aveiras, that's called a rasha. That's what it is. A rasha is someone who does aveiras. Tzaddik is someone who, what? A Beinani is someone who doesn't do aveiras. A rasha is someone who does do aveiras. A Beinani does not. So what's a tzaddik? But first of all, what if you don't do the aveira? Let's go back to marriage. Is it okay to be, I'm good, all the time, I'm honest in my marriage, but I commit emotional infidelity. That means I'm thinking about someone else. Is that okay? It ruins a marriage, right? Why is it not okay?
It takes away the connection.
You've destroyed the connection between the two of you. It's not real, right? In order to be real, it has to be that you're totally involved with one another. Well, it works the same way with Hashem. A relationship with Hashem means that you're completely one with Him. Totally. And you and He are one. If you think, certainly if you speak, and even for sure if you act, but even if you think anything against Hashem, what are you? A Rasha. So now you say, okay, so we're all Rashayim. Wonderful. It's okay to be a Rasha. It's not so bad. You're working on yourself. The word Rasha does not mean wicked. Are you wicked if you think about something wrong?
You're human.
You're human, yeah. but you're also Rasha, meaning you're prone and you do things that are problematic. That's a Rasha. This book is designed for Beinani. The definition of a Beinani is someone who successfully controls their thought, speech, and action all the time. They never act, they never do, they never speak, and they never even think any Aveira.
That's a Beinani?
That's a Beinani. Why is he not a tzaddik?
Do that.
What? That's what the book's about, to learn how to do that. But first of all, why is he not a tzaddik?
Do it all the time.
Yep.
That sounds like a tzaddik.
How do you do all the time? How do you stay married all the time?
We're always working on it.
It's an awareness, the whole
Yeah.
awareness.
It's connecting to your inner self. It's because you don't know who you are. That's why. It's by really, really connecting. But first, why are you not a tzaddik? If I'm not thinking, speaking, or acting even one aveira, that's a tzaddik. But it's not. Why? Because a Beinani wants to do aveiras all the time. He doesn't succeed in controlling the internal desire. He is struggling. That's the struggle of the Beinani. He's having a hard time internally and he's struggling. A tzaddik doesn't struggle. He conquered it already. For example, when you go to, if you see an addict and he's a recovering addict, you ever seen? He'll lift up his hand and he'll say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm an addict. I'm sober for 12 years, 6 months, 2 weeks, and 2 days." And you say, "So why are you an addict? You're sober." Because if I stop saying that I'm an addict, then I'll stop being sober. I have to constantly recognize that I'm an addict. You know who's a classical example of an addict? Eretz Yisrael. Israel. Israel's like this place where you can buy real estate. They're the same price as Manhattan in Yerushalayim. You want to go buy in Yerushalayim some real estate, it'll cost you millions of dollars for a little apartment. It's a thriving country. Israel's a thriving country, but if for 1 second they think they're thriving and they let go, you know what happens? October 7 happens. Because the neighbors, they're bad neighbors. All they want is you dead. And if you want to survive, what you need to do is have a strong army. For how long? Do you think we'll need a strong army in Israel for the next 100 years? Forever. Pretty clear, right? Till Mashiach comes. We always need a strong army. If you have a strong army, then you're safe, then you're good. So you see what it is? That's the Beinani. It's not New York, New Jersey, they don't have there's no border there. You just cross the tunnel or the bridge and you're good, you're in. It's easy. No one wants to kill you, it's simple. You try cross the border in Israel and see what happens. Right? That's what the Beinani is. He's got a thriving country. I control this whole country, this being called me. No thought, no speech, no action ever enters me. But it always could. A tzaddik overcame it. So it's summarized. A tzaddik not shaykh to doing aveiros.
Is there
A
such a
bein.
thing?
What?
Is there such a living being?
Very rare.
Because even when we say that, who was it that after 80 years Shmuel
Him,
got
yeah.
out?
Right?
that-
Correct.
Yeah, so he was a
So,
tzaddik.
right, so
Yeah,
Ruach
yeah,
HaKadosh Baruch Hu
sorry,
b'tzadikim, the chapter 10 in Tanya, Ruach HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'tzadikim shem muatim, Hashem saw tzadikim are very few, so he scatter them around the generations. Very few people are tzadikim. Nor is it a virtue for you to be a tzaddik. Because a tzaddik means that you're not fighting. You just conquered it. Okay. Not a virtue. What?
These people aren't alive.
Exactly. So we're not focused on that. They have their avodah, don't worry. Tzaddikim have lots to do. But you don't need the book for the manual of a tzaddik because, to the best of my understanding, you wish you were a Beinani, never mind a tzaddik. Chassidim would say, Alavai a Beinani. Can you tell me how to be a Beinani? How do I be someone who doesn't ever think, speak, or act anything against Hashem? I don't know what that means. But you could. Oh, got it. I don't know how to become a Beinani. But to be a Beinani is the greatest virtue you could ever do. So if you tell any chassid, you mamish a Beinani. That's the biggest compliment you could ever pay. Then he'll say to you, you don't even know me. That's why you're saying that. I think things that I shouldn't. So the book of Tanya is called Sefer Shel Beinani. The goal is to figure out how to become a Beinani. Now, there's no Sefer Shel Rishayim. There was a Sefer Shel Tzadikim, they say it was burnt up, and we don't have it because we don't need it. There's no Sefer Shel Rishayim because you don't need a book for Rishayim. The book is how to be a Beinani. If you succeed and you get 100% in the game, you're a Beinani. If you get 99 and less, you're a Rasha, in the different levels of Rasha. And it's okay to be a Rasha. That means I'm struggling. I'm having a hard time. Struggling in life is not a problem. It's actually a virtue. It's why Hashem made us. Because as we'll learn, there's something called iskafia. Iskafia means to subdue the Yetzer Hara, to win the war against the Sitra Achra. There's a fight. There's a war. When you go play computer games, do you want to play a game that's going to be just a game where there's no adversary? There's no villain? You're playing? No, come on. You want to play a game and you want to have an enemy and a villain. And you want to win and fight and whatever. And then like you take your thing and you win and you're fighting. You're doing something. It's meaningful. It's not meaningful to sleep on a beach in Hawaii and do nothing. Hashem has a war that he wants to fight. The war is a war to eradicate Tumah. And when we win the war, it's Ruach HaTumah Aver Min Ha'aretz. They get rid of all Tumah from the land. Who's doing that? We are. Your life is of cosmic significance because the goal is to bring Hashem into this world. And what you're doing is revealing divine energy, revealing Elokus in this world. So that's the purpose of your life. Now the Tanya is, where does he get the information from? He calls it Likutei Amorim, a compilation of sayings. Here's what Tanya is going to show you. If you pay careful attention, you'll see you will not learn anything new in Tanya. Nothing. What you'll do is discover that the whole Judaism you were practicing your whole life till now, you had everything. So what was lacking? What?
The knowledge, meaning,
Connection.
Putting things in, reframing, understanding, appreciating who I am and what I'm about. There's nothing that needs to be done for this work to be other than to shape everything correctly. So the Alter Rebbe is being humble and he's saying, I'm just compiling. It's not just humble, it's the purpose of everything you do over here. You're going to be the same Yid you always were. When you learn Tanya, when you learn Chassidus, you'll see it's like it says, Tzohavu panav sh'Rabavo shemotzat tesefta chata. Rabavo's face, in the Gemara, Rabavo's face shone. His face had a shine because he found a new Tosefta, a new Chiddush. What happens when you learn Tanya is your face starts to shine, your entire being starts to feel connected. Because this book is about one thing and one thing only. And that is to connect you to your sense of Yiddishkeit, to Hashem, to your neshama, to your entire being. Because otherwise, you're doing Judaism. We have a book called Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch tells you what to do in Judaism. So when you want to learn what to do, you have to keep Shabbos. If you don't know Hilchas Shabbos, how are you going to keep Shabbos? If you don't know Hilchas Lashon Hara, you have to learn the Chafetz Chaim, you have to go through it and understand that is Lashon Hara and that's not. Otherwise, how are you going to know what to do? So there's a lot of books of what to do. There's one problem. What if I don't want to do what I'm supposed to be doing? What if I'm not in the mood? That's the problem, right? It's not for me. Where's the book on how to get to want to do what you're supposed to be doing? And that's what we struggle with a lot. Because we have an inner voice inside of us, a Yetzer Hara, and he gets into a mood all the time. He has these ideas of what he wants, what he doesn't want. The Yetzer Hara is nuts. He's crazy. Did you notice that? The Yetzer Hara is mishuga. And then when we're raising children, it's even more mishuga. And there's no book of how to get to want to do the book in the first place. That's what Tanya is. It's entering Yechidus and saying, Rabbi, I'm stuck. Can't do this. I don't know how to get to where I'm supposed to get to. And the answer is in a sense better than Yechidus, because what the Alter Rebbe lays down, he says, let's lay down the entire modus operandi, who you are, what you're about. Let's start from scratch. And as you move through it, you discover, and you get to realizations, constant realizations all the time. That's why it's called Likutei Amarim. It's just a compilation. And everything is Ma'amor Chazal and Torah, and you're like, I got that, yet. Focus. Melukot gathered mipistorim or mipistorim. It's gathered from books and scribes. The books are Shalach Kodesh, Maharal, Reishis Chochmah, if you're familiar with these works. These are works which were before the Alter Rebbe, but if you try learning Maharal, you're going to find it very, very difficult to find yourself in that space. The Alter Rebbe lays it out that you can actually appreciate it and get it into your life. Umipistorim, it's written by scribes. Scribes is Sefer is the book. Sefer is the person who wrote the book. He says, I got my information from Sefer. The Sefer were basically the Baal Shem Tov and the Mizrach Magid, whom he heard it from. Didn't actually meet the Baal Shem Tov, learned from him, I should say. But these ideas that were transmitted from them. And the Alter Rebbe had one more Rebbe in the middle. His name was Reb Mendel Vitebsker. After the Magid and Mezrich passed away, for a short span of time, Reb Mendel Vitebsk was the leader of the Hasidic movement. He was the Baal Tanya's Rebbe. Then he left after a couple of years. He went to Eretz Yisrael. And so he learned from him too. Meyusad al Pasuk, it's based on the verse, Ki karoyev eilecha adover me'oid v'fichal b'bavcha la'aseisei. That's a Pasuk in the Chumash, all the way at the end of the Chumash. What does the Torah say? It's very easy to do this work. In your heart, in your mouth, and in your heart to do it. Now, to do Yiddishkeit is actually not that difficult. How do you do Yiddishkeit? Keep Shabbos. What's keeping Shabbos? Lamates Malachas, that's what it is. Don't do this, do that, that's very clear. How do you not speak Lashon Hara? You zip your mouth, that's how. But what's the problem? I'm dying to speak Lashon Hara. And sometimes Shabbos, I don't know how to keep Shabbos. It used to be easy to keep Shabbos. Nowadays, with phones, many people are struggling with Shmir Shabbos. Because the phone, Vinishvi is Asr on Shabbos, one way or another. And I don't know what to do. Heard about this one kid. He's from Erlicha, all the miles, Chassidish kid. And he's in yeshiva and he's top kid. Comes home, he's 14 years old. He comes home for Shabbos, has no phone, of course, but there's a computer. And the kid said he was revealed that he says, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But I'm triggered by certain positions, and he's got, everything is perfect except for when he doesn't want to come home. Because when he comes home at 2 o'clock in the morning, when everyone's sleeping, he sits and learns and does everything, whatever. And after he finishes learning, 2 o'clock in the morning, he goes onto the desktop computer and he figured out the code and he uses the computer for kosher stuff. But he uses the computer because it's like an addiction to use it. Bilvavcha is the hardest thing in the world. To actually truly feel it and to control your heart, and that's the goal of Tanya. Will you control your heart? Actually control your heart? Nope. But if you learn how to access your heart and to get in touch with your heart, then you are now empowered to work with your heart. So the goal is to get to a space of really and truly being a Yid. And I think it's what we want, right? To feel connected. To feel truly, deeply connected. Because the Torah says it's easy. It's korev elecha adav hamoed. It is very easy. Right? It's like certain things you get. Once you get that you're hurting someone that you love and you know this is hurting them, I don't want to hurt you. So then I stop the hurt because I realize this is painful to you. And I don't want to do that. And so this book is Levayer Heite Veichu Korav Moed B'derech Haruko K'tzor Be'ezer Hashem Yisbarach, to explain thoroughly how this is close and easy in a long and short way. It's a long way and it's a short way. So there's actually two ways to learn how to get close to Hashem. There's a long and short way. There's a long way that's short, and there's a short way that's long. And so we have to learn what this means and how we do it, and what this is, be'ezer Hashem Yisbarach, with the help of Hashem. Hashem helps us to actually get to the point that we can do the avodah and be true, genuine Yidden.